Good morning. Glad to see everyone out this morning. It's a neat time of year. We get to reflect on things and get to spend time with family, get a little bit of time off, get to have a couple different little coughs in our throat that seem to poke up. I've heard a couple little coughs today. Hopefully, it's a dry one that'll go away quickly. Um, and as we think about these types of things, um, not a direct line, but there's a there's a thought that came to me and a couple different things. I don't know why this thing about ships has come to mind. Um, but we have um, in our US Navy there's this ship called the Comfort, and it is a hospital ship, and I thought about the hospital ship a little bit, and I thought maybe I should preach on that hospital ship. And then I thought, oh, there's this other thing that I saw recently, and wanted to bring this instead of a hospital ship. I wanted to talk about a battleship. And really, the biggest thing is not a cruise ship. What are we on? When we think about our experience here and what did we sign up for? What is the church? And that was my first sermon that I preached at our little new church, right? Is what is a church? And how do you establish one? And what is it? But I think one of the things that I don't know if it was a post that I saw. I think it was a post that I saw. Somebody talked about this. The church is not a cruise ship. It's not something where it's built for relaxation. And it's not, you know, because many people come to the church and they're expecting that. They expect, you know, "Hey, the seats better be comfortable, right? The seats better be comfortable. I'm expecting a friendly staff, some good music. I want to hear good music while I'm there. Positive experience. I'm going to walk out feeling uplifted. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with coming to the church expecting to be cared for in some way. But this isn't really the true meaning of what the church is built for. The church is built for a mission, right? The church has a mission. Um, he never really invited people to follow, to relax. Sorry, he invited them to follow. Uh, Luke 9:23. And he was saying to them all, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Taking up a cross, not an easy thing, right? And as we foreshadowing in that, Jesus talking about somebody taking up their cross, he's going to have to carry a cross at the end of his life. But taking up your cross, what does that mean to us? That means I have to do work. I have to do something that is not easy. I have a cross to bear, is a phrase that we use, and we must follow him. He's calling us to follow him. He's calling us to be part of something, not to be a spectator. And this is not a this is not this is not me condemning this group here. This is me trying to help us level set our minds moving forward. So don't think that I'm saying, hey, you're all just sitting here doing nothing, because in a group this small, that's not how it works, right? Especially the smaller the boat is, the more work everybody has to do. You go out for a fishing trip, and all of a sudden they say, hey, grab that line over there. You say, but I'm just here to fish, right? And they say, no, it's a small boat. Grab that line, help. You step on the dock. There's work to be done. And in this small boat, there's certainly work to be done. But what we're not doing is trying to build a pleasure cruise. We're not looking to see how good can we make the entertainment to get people to fill the seats, and then how nice can we make the supper in order to have people leave with full bellies. That's not what we're doing here. The church is not designed for leisure, it's designed for purpose. The cruise ship mentality, you know, passengers, not participants, right? It's what am I getting out of this? Am I getting my money's worth? Some people buy that drink package on the cruise, and they'll get the little drink package if they just want sodas, and they'll get the big drink package if they want to go booze it up. And they'll say, I'm going to get my money's worth out of this. Oh, there's free food. There's all you can eat buffets. I'm going to get my money's worth. That's the idea. Am I getting my money's worth? With that, you get complaints at the lack of service, though. The service wasn't very good today. They weren't very attentive to me. They didn't come by and refresh my drink as often I'd like it. And I wanted to just stay in my chair and look at the sunset. Right? We think about this idea in our churches. We definitely don't want to go down this direction. The direction where somebody else does all the work and we sit and lounge. I think of the movie Wall-E, where all the people, they float around in their little pods and their bones get less dense and they no longer can walk, but they're out in space on their space cruise ship, and they don't have to do anything. Their bodies aren't capable of doing anything after a while. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 3, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance with their own desires. I want somebody that's going to tickle my ears. It's going to make me feel good. It's going to just give me a beautiful experience that I can go and watch. Now, lucky for you, I'm not that guy. I'm not that good of a speaker, so you're not going to get that today. I'm not capable of that, but that's also not my intent. Cruise ships produce consumers. The gospel produces disciples. A church full of passengers will never change the world. Again, he didn't assemble passengers on a ship, he assembled soldiers. If we're going to be a battleship, we're going to have some struggles here. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. You're going to be struggling against things. You're going to be pushing up against things. You can't do that if you don't have any muscles. If you haven't been trained to do it. If you try and go do a military obstacle course today, how would you do? Well, you'd say, well, my body's not built for that. Okay, let's think about a spiritual obstacle course. Let's think about a study when somebody says, hey, I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Tell me about what do you think the scriptures say on this, or how do you take this scripture? Are you ready for the scriptural obstacle course that's ahead of you, where you say, well, in order to understand that, yes, I understand there's a wall there. Let's look at the other things that are around the wall. Let's look at how we can get an understanding of what this scripture is. Do you have any other scriptures stuck in the back of your mind? Just little phrases. Turns out you used to have to know book, chapter, and verse. In the 80s, there was no internet, right? Or the internet was just this weird DARPA experiment that was in the basement of some government buildings. But we didn't have an internet where we could go and look things up. And we certainly didn't carry it in our pockets. But now, if you can remember a phrase of a scripture, something that pops into your head from a sermon, you can go and look that up. You can get that phrase and this thing that he said that one time. You have all the help you need. You've got the best military gear in the world, right? You've got satellite overview. You know, you can see where the enemy's coming in. You've got night vision goggles and heat goggles, and you can see all the battlefield if you just open your eyes. So we have all these helps for us. We have all these things, but how ready are we for a spiritual battle, for spiritual struggle? Battleship realities are that everyone has a role. Everyone has a job. Everyone has something. There's something that must be done. There are no spectators. Even the commanders on a battleship have roles, have things they have to do. They don't get to just sit and watch everybody else do the work. Nobody is weighted on hand and foot. Now, people do serve each other on a battleship, but they're serving each other for a purpose. There's a clear chain of command. Who do we answer to on this battleship, right? And there's mission focus. The enemy is not the people of the world. The enemy is not the people of the world. It's not at all the people of the world. It's the actions that they do that are influenced by the devil. So the enemy is the devil and sin and lies and darkness. It's out there. And sometimes, we as Christians, really look and we don't look at the world and understand that how many people are just trying to take advantage of us or use us for our money or our knowledge or our influence. We think, I'm a good person, they're a good person. And really, I'm trying to be a good person. Are they trying to be a good person? Right? And we're making that judgment call. We're trying to fill our lives with people that are trying to be good people. And how much nicer is it when you find somebody and you say, hey, you know what? That's a guy from my battleship. That's a lady I serve with on the battleship. Oh, you're in the Navy too. You're on the carrier over there. I get it. Okay, you're on that small destroyer over there. I get it. We're on different. Maybe we'll serve on the same ship one day. But how nice is it when you find somebody when you know they're on the same mission as you in this world, and you know that they have the same chain of command as you do. When you say, okay, we're in the same fight together. There's a little bit of an extra bond. Battleships aren't built for comfort. They're built for combat. And yes, the battleship has an infirmary. It has beds. It has it has um, it has a place where you can go and be cared for. What is the purpose of that care? That care is not extended stay. It's not it's not a a nursing home for Christians where you come and you retire and you say, and now I've made it. I've made it into the church. I'm done. No, it's I've made it in the church. Now I have work to do. My father told me a long time ago. There's no retiring in church. There's no retiring. You work until you can't. You work until your body gives up. The battleship has an infirmary. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary, heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You'll find rest if you come to do the work. If you take his yoke upon you, if you if you sign up to be part of the the working class of the church, you'll find rest. There's a bed for you on the battleship. There's a place to rest. There's an infirmary. You hurt yourself out there, you come back, you're beat up from battling or from doing your daily duties. There is a place where you can find comfort. Wounded soldiers are treated on battleships all the time, but the infirmary is not the mission. Again, it's not the US's Comfort, right? It's not the comfort ship. It's not that ship that's a floating hospital that goes around the world. It's a battleship. Healing is for restoration, not for permanent retreat. So with that, the grace that we're extended, the forgiveness that we're extended is not an excuse to disengage, but it is there to give us strength to re-engage. It's to put you back out into the battle. It's to get you back manning your gun or cleaning the deck or whatever it is that you do as your service on the battleship, whether it be, welding repairs in the hull or firing the cannons. There are multiple jobs that you can have. but the infirmary is there to get you back out there. There's places for training and strengthening and rest. There's your bed where you go sleep at night. You live on this ship, you eat on the ship, but there's places where you train, you become stronger, you get better at your job. These things, when we think about that here, it's the worship service this morning. It's there's learning that we do when we turn to the scriptures together. Bible classes, Bible classes, if this is like fifth grade, eighth grade, maybe high school education, our Bible classes are college bachelor's, master's, PhD level stuff when we get these Bible classes. We'll get down and we'll study the original language it was written in. Why do we need to be a Greek scholar? Well, we don't necessarily, but sometimes it helps us understand that little thing that doesn't quite make sense, or that little thing that got twisted by some group that doesn't understand the scriptures all the way. And we say, how did they get there? They misunderstood this word. There's in-depth training, all levels of training for you available here, whether it's in the worship service, in Bible study. There's even training in prayer. We don't think as prayer is training a lot of times, but prayer trains your brain to think in a way. When you repeatedly, daily, multiple times a day, or even just once a week, if that's all the habit that you've built up so far, if you go to the Lord in prayer and supplication, if you go to the Lord and ask for things, you're training your brain to rely on the Lord. It's a simple thing. It shouldn't be hard. It's not hard, but you have to train your brain to do these things. Prayer is a way that you can train yourself. And sometimes when my friends will ask me for prayers, especially when it's something uh, that is really heavy on their hearts, I'll say, I'll get my prayer warriors together. Prayer warriors are powerful. Prayer warriors don't always, and sometimes all you can do is pray. Sometimes all you can do is ask the Lord for help. And there's no way that your physical body, there's no way that you have the means about you in the world to actually take an action that will assist God to be God's hands. But sometimes you pray and you go, I could do something. I don't just have to ask the Lord. I will ask the Lord. I will continue to ask the Lord, but my hands are capable of helping in this little way. And it turns out that when you've got 20 people that are willing to help in a little way, that's a lot of help. 5% of help from 20 people is 100%. Many hands makes light work, right? Now, the other thing that strengthens us and trains us and helps us, gives us rest, gives us recovery is fellowship. The love of the brethren. When you come in and sometimes, that fellowship happens here to a degree. That fellowship also happens outside of here. That fellowship can happen in our halls, in our homes, in the hallway right out here, in the aisle. We need bigger aisles in our new building. We're gonna have bigger aisles, and I'm gonna have some aisles on the side because sometimes all the fellowship happens right in the middle, and the people that need to get to lunch can't get out. Right, and so we're planning to have some side aisles and the main aisle, and what how neat is it when the church service ends, but the church is not done? Because the church is the people, right? The people aren't done. The service isn't really over. We're still servicing each other. We're still serving each other. We're still, how are you? And how is the family? And I'm so glad to know that Hunter is at home today, and that they're watching online, and that they plan to be back soon with us. Prayers that we have had where, and I know that there have been offers of how can we help? How can we help? And they said, we've got it. We're okay for now. But what a great recovery he's making, right? And our prayers, we don't know how much God did with our prayers, but we know it's better to have tried than not to have. 2 Timothy 2:15, be diligent to present yourself approved to God as a workman who does not need to be ashamed, accurately handling the word of truth. There's subtleties in this verse, right? Be diligent. Diligent is not something that I was always good at in my in my studies at school. Sometimes I was right on it. Sometimes I'd go, "Oh, I got it, I'm fine," and then I'd see the grade slip a little bit and go, "Okay, now I'm gonna have to actually go back and read this chapter a couple times. I'm gonna have to study a little bit. I might have to ask somebody, what did I miss in class yesterday? What when I was out? What did I miss? How can I get back on top of these things?" When we're diligent about something, we don't want to miss anything. Diligence is actually, an accounting. Think about if your tax accountant is not very diligent, and they file your taxes and they say, "Oh yeah, we forgot a couple things." Turns out you owe a few $1,000s that you didn't plan on, few tens of thousands of dollars, and you panic and go, "I'm going to need a new accountant." They weren't very diligent. How diligent do we want the Lord to be on our behalf of the accounting of the sins that we've been forgiven for? I'd like him to remember all of them. Please, I'd like, and when I pray for the forgiveness of sins that I didn't realize I was committing, please, yeah, definitely remember those because I don't. I think about diligence in my expense reports for work, and I should do them every month at the end of every month when I can remember, or I should do them the night that I have an expense for work, and then end up doing them at the end of the quarter. And I go back and I say, I think I spent on something else, and I know I'm missing something. I'm missing out on money, and at some point I go, it's okay, it's all right. But that diligence would be staying on top of it. And a workman. This scripture calls us to be a workman, not a watcher, not a viewer, not a consumer, right? A workman. You have a job to do that doesn't need to be ashamed. If you do your job well, there's no shame in it. Carpenters, when they step into a house and they see somebody else's work, they'll immediately go, that corner's not square. They didn't do that drywall well. I see the overhang on the, over here is different than over there. I see the mistakes the other man made because I am also an expert and I see what he's done wrong or what she's done wrong. I see what this other carpenter did not do well. And to those of us who are novices, we step in and go, looks good, walls work, right? Roof doesn't leak. We don't notice all the little things, but a workman, when you can have another expert step into your work and go, no, they did it well. They did it well. I think about Jay took over a system for me at work and he said his thing was barely held together. I said, I just got it running. It wasn't my job. I wasn't a professional. You're a professional. Take this thing over, make it work well. And we laugh about that little system that I built a long time ago and that just barely got going. But it did the job at the time. It got the job done, but it was not something that I was proud of and that I considered myself an expert with. When we look at the scriptures, when we think about our ability to interact with somebody on a spiritual level, and when we talk to somebody about their spiritual life, are we good at it? Would we consider ourselves an expert? Would we be able to help somebody else that was struggling with it? Key point here is that soldiers rest so they can fight again. They train so that they can work harder, so that they can win the fight, so they can be better than the enemy. Training prepares us to stand firm against the forces of evil. So we don't gather here to escape the world. This is not where we come to get away from the world. We gather here to be equipped to go back out into it. Crew, not cargo. 1 Corinthians 12:18. But now God has placed the members, each one of them, in the body just as he desired. God put you here because he desired it. He gave you a job here at Ellicott City, at this little church, at this little group here. He desired you to be here. He gave you a job. He put you in the body. He placed you here for a purpose. And maybe we don't know what that is yet. Maybe we're still finding it. Maybe we think, well, I'll get there. And you will. And you're trained. Not everybody is in charge of manning the gun on the big ship. They might be working up to that. They haven't been promoted that. They're not allowed to hit the fire button yet. We don't trust you with the fire button, but you're training towards it. The real thing as we think about this and being in the Lord's body, being part of his service is analyzing for ourselves, or are we a passenger that complains and expects to be served, or are we part of the crew? Are we healed but actually sitting idle? Have we gone to the infirmary and are we going, I'm going to stay here as long as I can, right? Even though I'm feeling better, I'm not going to say anything until they kick me out. Think about that at the elementary school kid that wants to get out of class and they go to the nurse's office. I got a tummy ache. Right? Okay, it's time to go back to class. No, but I think I still got a tummy ache. Well, do I need to call your mom? No, no, it's not that serious. Okay, then you need to go back to class, right? We find ourselves in that situation where, I could work harder for the church, but I could do something. I could start a Bible study with my friend, but it's kind of like watching TV on Thursday nights. I like that show. I like that Thursday night lineup. I don't want to miss that. Why would I want to miss out on that for a Bible study with my friends? Then we're sitting out idle. And have you trained? Again, have we trained but then found ourselves inactive? If we've trained, if we know how to do everything, if we know the scriptures better than the Bible class teacher, but we sit in Bible class and we're silent and we let the teacher flounder, as I do on Wednesday nights. If you show up, you'll see I flounder sometimes, and I don't know what I'm talking about. And sometimes that class takes me in directions I was not prepared to go, oftentimes. But when we think about that, when that happens, and the teacher's floundering, you say, I know this. Why don't they know this? That's the time to help. That's the time to raise your hand and say, this scripture over here says this. What do you think about that? And you lead that teacher towards where they were trying to get to and had no idea that they needed to get there. There are ways that you can help, even if you're not going to be the person that stands in front. There are ways that you can help the teachers where you could come and say, I'd really love to have a sermon on this. If you can say that to any of the men who bring sermons, it helps. We'll scribble it down. And maybe it won't be the next sermon that we preach or the sermon after that, but then sometime we'll go, you know what? I finally got my thoughts together for that thing that person wants a sermon on. Because we want to know how to help each other. We want to know how to serve each other. The real message for today is that Jesus didn't die to create a cruise line. He died to establish a kingdom. He died to establish a kingdom. So are you going to join the kingdom? Are you going to join the fight? If we get everyone on mission, everybody paddling in the same direction. If you've been on those little boats on the river out there, and you're on the inflatable boat, and there's 6 people on the boat, and they say, "Everybody paddle forward, everybody paddle back." When everybody's paddling in the same direction, the boat really moves. The boat really moves. And are we doing our part? And so that looks different for different ones of us. We've talked about being idle. We've talked about being at rest. We've talked about just watching. Some people have not even signed up to be in this military yet, right? They haven't signed up to serve on the ship. If you haven't signed up, it's easy. Turns out ships are surrounded by water. There's water around. All you got to do is dip in it. If you will allow yourself to submit to the Lord and just do what he says, just dip in that dirty water as was commanded, to dip in the Jordan 7 times. And you don't even have to do it 7 times, just once. If you allow yourself to be dipped in the water, if you allow yourself to submit to the Lord, then you can be added to his kingdom. You can be added to the crew and you can work for the Lord. I encourage you at this time that if you need prayers, if you need the prayer warriors, if you need the rest, if you need the infirmary, come and talk to me. And if you want to sign up to be in the Lord's army, the Lord's military, the Lord's battle, come talk to me as we stand and sing the invitation song.